Nikisha. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, if not, welcome back. In today's video, I have 4 very easy plant pot DIYs for you using some old water bottles. And this is part 1 of a couple of videos I'm doing on reusing and upcycling plastic bottles. So be sure that you subscribe and click the notification bell so you'll know when the second one comes out. So let's get straight into the first project. I hope you enjoy. So to start, I cut my bottles different heights for the different planters. For this first planter, I'm using a braided cord and I'm wrapping the cord around the bottle for that roped look. To start, I frayed the end of the rope so that it would lie flat on the bottle once I got the cord around, and I just glued around the top of the cord, letting the cord lie halfway between the bottle itself and the top of the bottle, since I didn't iron it to smooth out the plastic on top. I also added some clear tape to cover the ridges on the bottle so that when I put the rope on, it would go on smoothly. I initially started off adding glue along the entire length of the rope, but then eventually I switched to just adding it every couple of inches or so. I would add the glue. Once I got to the end, I continued gluing on the inside, and then I added glue in one of the grooves, and once I cut the end of the cord, I stuck it into the groove so that it wouldn't be visible from the side of the planter. To elevate the pot, literally, I added some wooden beads. I believe they were 1-inch wooden beads, but I'll link them in the description so you'll get to see exactly what I used. When I tested the planter with a plant, I realized that you could see through some of the cording, so I decided to add some beige acrylic paint. I'm not sure it fully made a difference, but it's something that you can think about if you're doing this project. But this is the final look. For this project, I'm using some cork contact paper and a smaller bottle, which was probably my first mistake, which you'll see. So to measure the contact paper, I'm using a piece of macrame cord, and this is useful if you have a round surface to measure and you don't have, and the item that you're cutting out isn't flexible to go around it. So once I cut my contact paper, I started off applying it to the bottle in the way you normally would, which is from one end to the other, and peeling off the paper as you went along. But because the bottle was not a flat surface, it wasn't working. So in the end, I ended up taking off the entire backing, and then I just put the bottle to the center of the contact paper and applied it by wrapping the ends around, and applied it that way instead. There was a little bit of overlap, so I trimmed that off. You'll see it in a second. And I used that extra overlap to add in the space between the bottle and the contact paper at the back so that I would have something to glue and press the contact paper onto. And this is where things started going really wrong, because the glue literally melted the bottle away, as you could see here. So it did cause it to have some dents, which I was kind of bummed about, but I pressed on. So hopefully you can get some value in terms of the idea and not necessarily the execution in this case. I'll definitely use another bottle, a different type of bottle next time. On the outside, I wanted to replicate those kind of abstract designs that are really trendy right now. So I just freehanded a design. I tried not to overthink it. And I used some regular, I think it would have been wall paint for this design. Initially, I really wasn't liking it. I think I was bummed out because of how the back ended up curved in with the melted bottle. But in the end, I actually really liked how it came out. For this project, I'm using some burlap and raffia, and I'm making a hanging planter. When I initially wrapped the burlap around the bottle, I realized that you were seeing the sheen from the bottle coming through, so I decided to give the bottle a quick coat of paint on the outside, and then I glued my burlap onto the bottle. I can't tell you how many times I got burned doing these projects, but we survived in the end. So I really should have cut more fabric off of the bottom. So maybe you just need about an inch fabric at the bottom, but I cut some triangles out so that it would lay down flat more easily. And once I had glued the entire bottom, I glued down the inside of the burlap. And this was the bottle before I added the raffia. So using a raffia skirt is easier, makes this process easier. I grouped the raffia strings in groups of 3, and I glued the string along the top of the bottle. And once I had it glued all around, I then plaited each of the groups of raffia, and I glued the plaits down onto the bottom, and I left sort of like a large tassel at the bottom of the pot. To hang the pot, I used some twine that I had on hand because I was using a light plant. If you're using a heavier plant, you definitely want to probably add some rings on the inside and add the string too. But this is the final look. I'm using a faux ivy here that I got on Amazon. I'll link it below. I'm not keen about real plants over my head in bed. What about you? In this project, I'm using an old sweater that I haven't worn in years. I just need the main parts of the sweater, so I'm cutting off the excess bits. So I'm making a weave pattern, so I need some pieces of fabric that would go cover the diameter of the bottle. So that's what I'm measuring here, and then some shorter strips to go from the top of the bottle to the bottom of the bottle. I free-handed it, so maybe the strips are about an inch wide, and once I had my vertical strips cut and my horizontal strips cut, it was time to start adding them to the bottle. I did a bit of tape to the top of the bottle to smooth out the edge. Since I didn't iron it, I was afraid of mashing up my iron, and I used the glue gun and just glued each of the shorter strips on the inside of the bottle. And once that was in, I interchanged because we're weaving, so we're going one in, one out. So once you've sorted out where you want to start, I then started adding the horizontal strips. I should mention that I did go back in and add tape to cover the ridges, each of the ridges on the bottle. So once you have your first piece done, which should be directly on the bottle, then you want to go in and out. So one piece goes on the top, one on the bottom, and you continue in that fashion until you get to the end. It's a bit of a repetitive process. It maybe took about half an hour to do this, so it wasn't too long. You just have to make sure that as you're gluing, you're not leaving any spaces in between the strips because you don't want the bottle to show through in the end. Once I got to the end, I made sure that, of course, it ended where I would be covering where the fabric is joined together. And then I glued down the ends to the bottom of the bottle and also made sure to glue any gaps closed so that it would be a smooth finish. And this is the final sweater pot. Doesn't seem right, does it? But this is the final. So I hope you enjoyed these fairly easy projects that you do using materials that you have on hand. Do let me know which is your favorite down in the comments. I just wanted to show you quickly these that I had styled in this. They're cuttings from a plant that was dying. But when I pulled them out to style them, I saw, look at this one. Oops. Look at how many babies. Like, I'm so happy about this. Like, look at how many offshoots on this one. And then this one, or is it? This one has, I think it looks like 2 coming. So I'm really excited about these. So I'm going to be putting them back in the water, and hopefully more of them will shoot. But really excited about this because the plant was not gonna live. Yay!